Okay, welcome to the Georgetown School Committee meeting of Thursday, October 10th, 2013. Before we get business going, I would like to ask everyone rise and say our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, the chair will entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda items, which include regular session minutes of 9/26/2013, public relations minutes of 8/6/2013, acceptance of warrants number 15V14 and number 14P14.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're gonna move along to our student rep, Mary Beth.
Hi.
Hi, Mary Beth.
So the one thing I'd like to focus on that our school has been doing is Unity Day. We started that this Wednesday. It's a nationwide movement that the motive is nobody sits alone. So that means at lunch, if you see someone sitting alone, you don't have to go over and start a conversation, but get a couple friends over and just sit with them so they're not alone, and then maybe they'll join in and then you can make a new friend, sort of thing. So we started that last Wednesday, and how we got the school to participate was every single person in the school wore orange. We got a lot of people wearing orange. It was really, really cool to see the hallway just filled with orange. And so we did that. The student council, the peer leaders are doing that. And the student council, I'm not sure about peer leaders, but the student council every single Wednesday for the rest of this month, since October is Bullying Awareness Month, we're going to be doing games in the lunchroom, trying to promote meeting new people and sitting with someone that you don't usually sit with. So try to do that.
That's
Nice.
great.
That's
wonderful.
Great.
That's
I was
very-
happy to see the school website updated their pictures, and it showed a lot of the kids wearing the orange.
Yeah.
It was really neat to see that.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I love to see the kids taking responsibility for things. We were talking about that last night. They had an induction for the music department, had their Triple M.
Tri-M.
Tri-M.
Mm-hmm.
Tri-M awards. And it's like a National Honor Society, but it's into this music honor society. And Mary Beth was part of it, which I keep calling her Rebecca. She doesn't. Sorry, Mary Beth. Mary Beth was recognized, and she played a piano solo, so she's very talented. But what was really nice was just talking to some of the students after, and just how proud they are of that distinction, and these are all kids that just would do anything to do leadership, and it's just great to see the enthusiasm and the excitement, of making their school a better place.
That's nice. That's great.
It takes a lot of commitment, and it's just amazing what I see happening. It's just great.
Good. Anything else going on at the school?
Football game Saturday. The field hockey team won 2 consecutive wins. They had 4 games this week. They have their 3rd tonight and then their 4th tomorrow, I think.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know. Do you guys know how they did? I don't know.
No.
So hopefully they did well. I heard that they hopefully were going to do well tonight. And then other than that, not much. The clubs are just starting to get up and running. I'm trying to get this initiative where I try to meet with every single president of each group in the school so that when I come to talk to you guys, I have more to talk about, from each group. So I'll be doing that next week or 2 weeks from now.
And it sounds like that we've been talking for years, and it finally happened, about doing, rather than just saying these are the clubs that are offered and people sign up, doing like a club fair.
Right.
Yeah. Where it was kind of like each of the clubs had a chance to sort of feature, and it also invited people that want to create a new club
Yeah,
to
we
come
just
forward.
had a new club.
And there was actually a new club
yeah, it was
that
exciting.
that came out of that. Group of students really wanted to take leadership, and they found an adult who would be willing to act as their advisor. And that's exactly what that kind of a day is supposed to do. Because a lot of times kids don't sign up because they really don't know what's available. They really know how it works. And, you know, they haven't known that if you want to have a club, then this is what you have to do in order to put it together. So I think that was very effective. I think it'll just get better every year.
Yeah, I hope so. You know, it was a little unorganized this year,
Yeah,
but
that's what happened
next
to
year,
you.
like, everyone went to it, so now they'll know what to expect, what to make, like, as posters and stuff, so.
Yeah.
And what was the new club?
It was the anime club.
It was the anime
which,
club.
like, I was surprised that Georgetown didn't have, because a lot of schools, high schools and colleges have anime clubs, and it's like the cartoon, you know. So,
Japanese cartoon.
like Japanese
Yeah.
cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it
really
causes a
interesting.
lot of fan fiction stuff,
Yeah.
you know. So, I was surprised when the school didn't have one, so they started that, so it's cool.
That's great.
That's great. Thank you. As always, thanks for coming.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you, Mary Beth.
Is there anyone here from the public that would like to address anything on the agenda?
That's not on the agenda. You're all on the agenda.
Okay, thank you. Okay, superintendent's report?
Yes. Well, this is one of my favorite nights because it's an opportunity every year for us to recognize some students who I think excel academically. We have a lot of strong students in our school, but the folks we're going to talk about tonight have distinguished themselves, you know, at a very high level. I wrote a little bit about it in my orange notes to you. Mr. Umbro is also very, very helpful to get things together. So first I want to talk about the National Merit Commended students. So, as I said in the notes, each year the National Merit Scholarship Program recognizes really an extremely small number of students who demonstrated outstanding performance on the PSATs, which they took in 2012, I believe. Yeah. So very recently, more than 2/3, or Mr. Umbro says about 34,000 of the 50,000 highest scores received letters of commendation. So over 1.5 million juniors took this exam. So when we say a very small number, we mean a very small number. So these recipients that we're going to talk about tonight are named on the basis of a competitive selection index score. So they're not necessarily moving on in the competition, but it is important that they be recognized for the excellent academic achievement they have and their continued commitment to learning. So I am happy to announce this year's students, and we have a little certificate here that I'm going to have you come up and get in recognition of being selected as a commended student by the National Merit Scholarship Program. So I would like Mackenzie Snyder and Jacqueline Claveau to come forward, and Ryan Bahar. And congratulations, Ryan. And congratulations to your families. You know, I know that it takes a lot of support from families to help students, you know, perform at the level that these young people do. So thank you for being here tonight and supporting your children, and thank you for making the time to come out. And then the other award that I'm going to do tonight is the Superintendent's Award. And the Superintendent's Award is actually an award that the Massachusetts Association of School Superintendents awards across the state every year around this time. And depending on the size of the school district and the size of the high school, superintendents are asked to give one or more awards. So why I say that it's a hard decision is because for a lot of reasons, I could give this award to many, many students at the high school. And since it's an award that I am supposed to give, what I look for is obviously it's an academic award, so clearly academic achievement is a part of this. But I also look at, for those children that I consider for this, what do they also do to contribute to their school? And then what else do they do within their community? So it's more of a well-rounded look at, you know, a student and what they contribute. So I'm just gonna for the public and for the committee, I know you've read about our recipient, but I want to make sure I do justice to this because I'm really impressed with this young man. So it is my pleasure this year to give the Superintendent's Award to Ryan Bahar. Many of you recognize him because he's come a few times and filled in for the school committee rep. And as I said in my notes, usually I usually talk to the top 5 or 6 kids in the class, and I really agonize over, who do I give this to? But this year, in reviewing Ryan's courses and his transcript and his resume, I really didn't go much further than looking at Ryan, because I think Ryan really exemplifies all of what I was looking to recognize. So it's not to say that the top 5 or 6 kids in the class wouldn't be well deserving, but it was very clear in my mind when I was looking things over that, and I had a nice opportunity to talk with Ryan. It was really a pleasure to have him come to my office and hear a little bit more about him and his goals. So academically, you have his transcript in your packet, as well as his resume. He's excelled in the most rigorous courses that we offer, to the extent that we had to find courses for Ryan this year because he took everything that we had available at the highest AP level. He maintained a weighted GPA of 5.33. And he's taken honors and advanced placement courses since he entered the high school and was able to do it. His SAT score is 2,400 is the top score. He has 2,340. Wow. And his subtests in math, don't blush here, Ryan, are 800 in math 2, 800 in U.S. history, and 800 in molecular biology, which are top scores. Received a 5 on his advanced placement exams in every subject that he took the test, which 5 is the top score that you can get. It's not surprising that he ranks first in his class. And while he maintains these impressive grades in all these challenging subjects, he also participated in athletics. So he was on particularly track is his thing, track indoor and outdoor. And, he's placed in the Cape Ann League. He's been recognized as a hurdler, long legs, for it's both the States and the Cape Ann League. Boston Globe and Boston Herald actually recognized him as an all-star student athlete, which again is a great honor. He plays the xylophone, which I thought was really interesting. Where he shares his talents at concerts, but he also, works and goes to local nursing homes and makes some of the patients there, happy with his music. And in terms of leadership roles at the high school, he's been a student council member. And I said you'd recognize him as being a school committee substitute when we needed him. But not only is Ryan active in the student council here in Georgetown, but he actually has been on the Northeast Regional and the state advisory councils. So he takes, the opportunity to be part of this kind of a leadership organization and takes it out of the boundaries of Georgetown. And he actually is on an advisory council to the State Board of Elementary and Secondary Education, so he has an audience with the Commissioner of Education. So that's, I think, quite an impressive credential to have. He's a very active member in our DECA chapter, and he's received recognition at the state and the national levels, and he was the captain of the academic decathlon high school quiz show, which we really are proud of as well. I had a strong sense when I was talking to Ryan that he's just very, very committed to making the world a better place. And he puts his time and his effort and his energy into doing things that, go toward that goal. So he's active in the Civil Rights Club, the Key Club, the peer mentoring, does peer tutoring. These are all, activities that give back and share his great skills and talents. And he actually does some volunteering at the Merrimack River Feline Rescue Society when he's not doing all these other things. If you're not exhausted yet, I find Ryan to be a very positive, gregarious, very social young man with a real seriousness of purpose. He plans to study biochemistry, right, in college with a goal of doing research in the medical field, but somehow he doesn't see himself just working in a laboratory necessarily. He also wants to engage with with people. So he's not sure if he wants to be a physician. He's still exploring that, but I know he will make a difference in whatever it is he chooses to do. He's applying early action to Brown University. Ryan has actually also gone in the summer to a couple of week-long courses. And one was at Brown. Where was the other one?
Well, I did a thing at BU.
BU. Yeah, he did something at BU as well. So, this is on his own time when, he would have some downtime, and he's very motivated, as you can see from his resume. And he's also applying maybe to Northeastern, UPenn, and Johns Hopkins. So very competitive, and schools that I think would all be so fortunate to have him join their student body. So, it is my honor and privilege to award Ryan Bahar the Superintendent's Award for 2013-14. So Ryan and I, when we had our conversation, he also, because he's got an interesting schedule this year, he's going to come meet with me, and he's going to help me with some public relations. So he's going to help us do some social media stuff, and we don't quite know what that's going to look like, do we, Ryan? But we're going to work on it together. We're going to work on it together, and it's a great opportunity for him, and it's a phenomenal opportunity for us. So more to come on that. But thank you so much. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Okay.
Quite an impressive
Quite an
Can-
impressive.
individual.
May I ask a question?
Of course.
Are you going to continue with track?
I actually am not. I had a discussion with my AP biology teacher about this
no.
because she played lacrosse in college and basketball. And I actually got a letter from Worcester State University today about being a potential hurdler, but to the schools I'm applying to, my times aren't good enough. And I think I might want to focus more on academics in college.
Sure.
And I want to go to grad school, so I'm going to need to have a high GPA. So I got to work on that. But I'm going to try to be involved in other ways in college, and I'll still try to be fit, but I don't think I want to do track because that might be too much of a sacrifice for my academics.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Thank
Good
you.
Now, you don't all have to stay for the whole school committee meeting if you want to leave. We'll understand. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Congratulations to all
Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Bye, Mary Beth.
Thank you for all of you for representing us so well.
Really. I don't think I've ever seen a
I
resume
know.
like that.
It was pretty amazing. Yeah.
I thought maybe they got the
A plus,
the
A
A's
plus,
stuck
A
on the
plus.
computer.
No. When you get 5s in every AP exam, right now Ryan's doing a couple of online college classes. Because that's, our kid works in his own little area,
It's his own little
that's why
closet
I thought
that he sits in.
that's why I thought the public relations thing might be something, and he was just very excited about it. I'd rather give him something like that to, bring, he'll bring the thoughts of the students.
I'm working on some
To that.
ideas for that.
Yes. Okay. So the other thing I just wanted to mention to you, it's not on the agenda quickly, but I'd mention it. I got a little letter here from Chief Cudmore, and he, as you know, we did not get the grant, which, he was very disappointed about, but he has researched, he says, several options, and recently visited the NEMLEC. NEMLEC, and found a very interesting program they offer to police departments and school districts. It's called the STARS program, School Threat Assessment and Response System. It's a regional partnership which includes school personnel, law enforcement, and specially trained mental health professionals. They're also available to respond to all types of incidents concerning students, and it includes a regional response for critical incidents within the district. So he's saying the cost of membership is approximately $4,800 a year and includes an 8-hour a month training requirement with the council. So he's asking if we would be interested in splitting the cost of the membership fee. And he said he would supply the overtime cost for the officer to attend the monthly training requirement. And he would manage the program for the district and attend these meetings as required. So he knows that the cost was not budgeted for this year, for both his department and our department. But, he does feel that this appears to be a minimal cost, to further our collective goals. So, I don't know if this is something we can, we can find the money for within the budget, or it's something this would be a perfect thing to go to choice for. It's half of 4,800. So, I just bring it forward because I think it's something we should support, but, just wonder what the committee would think about that, and if we would be interested or willing to consider, I don't know what we would do. Shall we make a recommendation as to where it would come from, or should we just get a vote from the committee to go forward with it, and then
Right,
we
'cause I-
inform the committee as to where we see where the money is?
Yeah, that's what I would suggest, because perhaps we can find it in our budget, but if not, we'd have to come back for a
choice.
vote if we,
Right, we could
so you
come
would have
back
to
in
delay,
October.
right? So-
But we could vote to support it if you're interested. That way I could speak to Chief Cudmore about, moving, that we're gonna do it. We just have to identify the funding source for it.
This is a way of having a resource officer?
No, but this, I can pass it around. This, apparently that this is, an alternative, because we didn't get the resource
Right,
officer,
right,
so.
I'm just trying to understand
So
exactly
it's
what we
more,
get
it's
from
a
this.
program that would support our efforts, and we would belong to a consortium, and there would be some training that would be available, it sounds like.
To the officers?
To the officers, to the
And the
school
schools.
personnel.
When I worked in North Andover for that brief time, for a year, I remember the business manager, he was always going to NEMLIC meetings, and it was about security and safety and dealing with, as Carol said, threats. So it was something they were doing back in 2005. I don't recall if we had a resource officer then, but it was a very active, he was constantly going to meetings, and if there was something like the Newtown thing that happened, that group gets together and they problem solve and they make recommendations of how schools should handle it, and it was a good organization, what I recall.
Is it something that we can, look into? Like just the committee? Invest,
I think if,
is there something like
I-
online that we can look
Well,
at? or is
I think
just looking at
probably
this
Google
enough?
that organization is probably what you would do. So, but I think he's looking at it as it's another set of tools for the toolbox, another set of resources that, might bring new knowledge and training, keep up-to-date training, for us.
Well, there's certainly a lot of, bordering communities that are part of it.
Yes.
It does make me wonder why we haven't been a part of it up till now. Or
I don't know that
before.
we've known about it. I don't know that we've known about it. Don Cudmore knows,
Sure.
Right,
I
it
think
typically
it's
comes through the police
police
department.
department,
Right,
I think
says
he's,
And he's the chief now, so
he's
he
the
may be
chief now,
finding
so
stuff that he didn't.
we might be finding stuff. Yeah, he wouldn't necessarily, it wouldn't have been within his realm necessarily to do it in the
Right,
past.
yeah, sure.
And I think he also saw this now as a resource that maybe we need, because we aren't gonna have the
The resource.
officer in the schools.
And would that be a shared, yearly, a shared expense?
I'm guessing that is, he says the cost of membership, so I'm thinking it's probably a yearly, but we could budget for something like that
Right.
in our budget in the future, at $2,400.
That's the punchline?
Yeah,
2,400.
that's what I'm thinking.
Because he'll split it with us.
Because he'll split it.
And he has offered to pay the
He's offered-
officers out of his own budget
Yes,
for
he
the
has.
overtime?
Yes, he
Very
has.
generous, yes. Well,
We haven't had very many requests or discussions about 2,500 here, 2,500
No.
there, right?
No, we
We
haven't.
really haven't.
No, we haven't. No, we really live within our budget.
Yeah.
Which is important.
This talks about resources include but are not limited to specially trained teams that include law enforcement, K-9 units. Does that mean that if we had an emergency here, we
I think that's the benefit of
would
membership.
have access, we'd have to more
Resources.
resources?
I'm all for resources when it comes to, the kids and the
Safety.
tragedies that have occurred. I don't know how the committee feels about making a motion to, proceed with it today? I mean, what are you thinking?
I would support it. I think it makes sense, Joe. I think the access to training is gonna be important.
I agree.
I think particularly in the absence of an SRO.
Right. Yeah, the police are very present in the schools, and have been,
Yes, they are, they've been great.
Yeah, it's been great, but,
I think it's an excellent idea. I'm just not used to having information and then committing monies at the same time. So I'm just getting comfortable with it. But I think it's an excellent idea.
Right. So, Joan, you think that, if you couldn't find it within the budget, choice would be the place that we would go, and you think that,
You would-
with that amount of
based up-
money?
Right, and based upon the parameters that I think this school, not this school committee, but the school committee has put on choice, we ask for a vote anytime we spend.
we do, it's a
choice.
requirement. We have to come back to you to talk about
Well, I
that.
think I'm fascinated by this because I wonder, who responds to the kinds of incidents that they respond to if you're not a member of this? Whose responsibility is it? So they respond to incidents that include bomb and weapon threats, student violence, threatening graffiti, a host of other school safety issues encountered by schools. So do we just have our police force responding at this?
Sometimes, in my experience, we've had state police respond when it's been a
Yes.
bomb threat or
Our
anything.
police would call
Plus
in
the state police.
whatever,
We call
whatever
it the
groups.
state police.
Right.
Because I noticed, so a lot of neighboring communities aren't. Boxford, Topsfield, Newbury, Newburyport, West Newbury, none of those communities are a member of this. And I don't know where I'm recalling this from, if it was something I read in the paper or somewhere else, that those police departments work to support one another.
They do.
Actively work, to respond to calls in neighboring communities. So it's training and threat.
They would
assist-
still do that. Our police
Right.
department, we've actually even participated and let them use our facility to do some of these regional
Right.
Training,
trainings.
right.
So,
So is this just more of an opportunity for, it says, the support and expertise to local member chiefs and school superintendents. So it sounds to me like you might have training, you personally. I'm just wondering if it isn't redundant because of everything I've heard since I've been on this committee about how well our police department and our school department work together. What a good
And that's true, we
partnership
do.
we have.
We do.
And how much area support, surrounding support we have. It's not that I'm opposed.
No.
I'm not opposed to anything that brings in more safety, but it makes you wonder how the whole system operates, in a sense that if there's,
If you needed K-9 dogs, would we be able to get them immediately?
I don't know. I mean, what would we need them for, and would we get them immediately?
For a bomb threat, I suppose.
I think I think the value of it is the opportunity for networking, for accessibility. I don't think it's going to be training me per se.
No.
But I think what happens is, it's kind of like I belong to the Superintendent's Association. Okay, so there are certain things that entitles me to. But if I want to get information on some policy or something that I might want to embark on, but I want to kind of get a sense of what have people done or what their experience has been in the past, I go to the association
Right.
because they give me a wealth of
Right.
information experience. I think that's what
Right.
this does. It's a network of people. It gives you like greater buying power, I guess. So we're not relying on the
I
chief
think,
or me.
Carol, what my discomfort is stemming from is in the wake of Newtown, when we had that community meeting, and the police chief at that time, and you spoke, and I left feeling very comforted and assured that we were well cared for, and so this. Because I didn't know any better, because I didn't know there was more we could be doing, and everybody was saying we are really safe here. Things are things are as good as
Safe as we know that they are,
Right.
right?
And so then you find out, but we could have been more. I don't know. I wonder if that makes sense.
That's
like,
just an
or
organization
is-
we can join.
yeah.
That's really what you're talking about doing. You're
This
talking about
seems more
joining.
specialized, though, as you read through this,
Right.
something that you wouldn't get even through some
Right.
of your local networks.
Right.
I think they probably train you to respond to different incidences that maybe Georgetown's never experienced.
Right.
That, maybe you hopefully never would experience, but
Right.
as things happen, they develop programs to
Sure.
respond
Sure.
to those things.
As opposed to us all designing them ourselves,
Right.
with
Sure.
what we know and it brings to bear expertise that maybe we don't have ourselves. I guess that's the.
And I'm thinking the towns that you mentioned that aren't on there, like, we didn't even know this existed, maybe they don't.
right?
Yeah.
Right.
It was up to, it seems like it's
I
through
think
the police.
Rowley's not on
police-
there, right? Yeah.
Rowley, so Haverhill.
Rowley's on here.
Rowley is on
Amesbury,
there?
Rowley.
Okay.
Rowley is on here,
And
yeah.
Haverhill.
Yeah, no, I saw those. I saw who
Yeah,
was.
but
It
I'm just
says
thinking that
something.
maybe the other town, like, we
Lawrence.
knew
They
nothing
don't.
about this.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
Maybe it's a way to keep us current with best practices and
Yeah.
state of the art, because I imagine that they're evolving as new information comes in and new,
Well, we had a safety meeting today, and Chief Cudmore gave me this letter, so we had a meeting tonight, so, I'm fine if people don't feel ready to, vote on it tonight as a way to support it. It has to wait till the 24th if you want, I'm happy either way, but I wanted you to be aware of it, and I wanted to put it on the table, and, see, garner whether or not the committee as a whole,
And he
looked-
felt strongly that this
Well,
would be a good thing for
Yeah, he
us.
felt strongly, that's why he wrote me this
Yeah.
memo, this letter. And Chief Cudmore is fairly conservative when it comes to funding, so I don't believe he would recommend it if he did not feel it was a good use of taxpayers' dollars and would
Okay,
have a
yeah.
payoff to, our school district and the Georgetown Police Department. But, we can also invite him to come to a meeting if you would want more information, just passing on I'm happy to share the letter. if you-
What would be helpful to me is to understand what the additional is of this compared to what they are right now, what the police department is, what the baseline is, what the town currently has for safety in place, what this brings to him, to Don, that is more than he currently has. If I can understand that, then I can understand more to the question I think that you're asking, which I think is a legitimate question. That would help me. And I too, safety is safety first. But as I said, I think for just myself, I would.
I don't- and I
I'm
also-
uncomfortable saying
yeah.
yes to just go ahead
Yeah.
right now with money. Just.
I
need to think
wonder-
about it. Just-
It seems to me to be so different from what a resource officer would bring.
Oh, it's not the same at all.
It's not the same
He's
at all.
not
So,
offering that in
yeah.
the same way.
Yeah, it's different.
He's just saying it's an organization that we can belong to, that will, have additional resources available, at the ready if we were to need them, current best practices, as
Training.
Pam said, if we want to access training. It's membership at a monthly meeting that, you go and you attend and you learn from others,
Right.
that's,
You talk about
that's really-
equipment, knowledge,
yeah,
personnel.
That's really what it is.
Yeah, 8 hours a month of training that they require, so they're obviously gonna be learning,
So I think if
learning
the
things.
officer is learning things, then they can potentially bring them in addition
Sure.
to what we currently have, because we don't have the officer in the school on a daily
Sure.
basis.
Right.
So I think that, he would see it as something that, he'd be able to deploy and offer as a resource to the schools that maybe we don't currently have that level of training for.
Mhm. Okay, so how would we proceed? How would you like to vote on it this evening? Would you like to get more information, invite Chief Cudmore to the meetings? What is your thoughts?
Just for myself, I would be comfortable with Dawn just providing the information prior to the next meeting.
Mhm.
And then with that in hand, if I can clearly understand what this adds to the table, then that's all I need to go through, I think, for a process to be comfortable at the next meeting to spend additional money.
Maybe we should, though,
But if he
take
wants
your
to.
recommendation, Bobby, and go out to the site, because I gotta believe there's more on the site than this,
That's a good thing, too.
so maybe we should do that.
I'm trying to save Dawn time and.
I mean, if you look at best practices, you know, you think of Secret Service and FBI, and you say, we don't really have access to that type of information on a regular basis, so it looks like it's so much more advanced and specialized.
Well, let's hope we would never have to have anything to do with that.
Absolutely,
Right.
but it's good to be prepared.
That's right.
One never knows.
Okay, why don't we do that, and then we can put it on the agenda? Or if anybody has any questions, as you go and visit the site, we can direct them
Those initials.
to Carol, or even Chief Cudmore directly, you know, just keeping Carol in the loop and myself.
Yeah, I think hearing from him, I mean, not saying that he needs to attend a meeting, but his assessment of what he would anticipate, how it would enhance the Georgetown Police Department's ability to respond.
I
to
think it's
threats.
interesting, though, in his letter, he did say, since we didn't get the SRO, he researched other options, and obviously it seems to him that this is an option that definitely is not going to replace an SRO, because it doesn't seem like it is anything like that, but for the chief to feel that.
But I would love to know his thinking.
Mhm.
Why this feels like something that's an option,
Okay.
an alternate to
Yep.
an SRO, because that's just, to me, it's a very different thing. I mean, one is building, I think, trust and relationship with our police force and our students, right? That's how what an SRO does. It gives an inside view of what's going on in our schools and if there are safety threats. And this is a response team, but the response is after the fact. That seems much more like the SRO seems much more as an opportunity to, deter any issues that may arise. So, that's.
Okay, well, let's do that. We'll take a look at it over the next couple of days if everybody has some
Sure.
time to do that, and then just address any questions that you have. I'm sure he'd be more than happy to answer them. And then we'll just put it on the agenda for next meeting.
Yeah, maybe what you,
Fine with that.
maybe what you wanna do is address them to me, because then I can get them and then I can deal with all of you, whereas if you won't be able to share the information with each other without
Sure.
issues of open meeting.
Right. Okay. Thank you for bringing that
Yes, you're welcome.
tonight.
And thank Dawn.
Yeah, absolutely, will do.
So school reports.
Nice. Oh, I should tell you, just because you maybe don't know this, that October is National Principals Month.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So
Me neither.
we were chatting about
Is that why they're
just
not
something.
here?
No. Well, actually, I consider that their gift, right? One of the things that Joan and I were just talking about
The
is
night off.
what little something special we could maybe do, make some kind of special treat or something and deliver to the schools, or, something. But I just mentioned it to you, just so, in case you hadn't heard, it is National Principals.
I'm definitely gonna do something.
There you go, there you go.
Who establishes that?
I don't know.
Is that
Hallmark, I think. But I
And
didn't
then
want to.
December is National School Committee Month.
Oh, yeah.
All right, there you go.
All right. Talk to Hallmark, I think that's good.
Nice.
I
Nice
just
one.
made that.
We'll make a special celebration in December. In fact, we were talking last night to Mrs. LaFlamme about, wouldn't it be nice at the December school committee meeting, just have a little reception right before, a little holiday festivities, and have a couple of the groups from the school come and sing a few songs and just feature some of the great work of the students. Maybe we can do
I
that
think
in
that's a
December.
great idea.
And if
I
you
like
want to
that.
also
Yes.
call it the National School Committee Month, we can do that.
We're always looking for ways to perform in front of
Yes,
people.
you are, and they do a great job. We love it.
That's nice. So what is it called? National
Principal,
Principals?
it's like,
Month.
National Principals Month.
Okay.
I don't even think they know it.
I'm gonna surprise them with something. I won't bake anything. I'll be more than happy to purchase something.
Maybe
I
can
do that, a few pumpkin scones.
Those little cones.
That's nice. Thank you.
It
for
makes
telling us
wonderful
about that.
pumpkin scones.
okay,
Fresh
so,
cranberries now too, yeah, out there.
department reports.
Nope, none of those.
Okay. So we're gonna move along to the 2012-2013 annual town report.
Yeah, I mean, so every year we have to, for town meeting, we to put together and we usually use a similar template every year, so people can kind of get used to if they're for comparative purposes. So I submitted this, I just wanted to bring it to your attention, so you know what appears, where it appears is in the little booklet that you get at town meeting.
Yeah, yeah.
So, you know, this represents a little bit of a summary of these
Yes.
things, and thanks to Joan and Mike for helping with the facilities and the budget part, and Julie for getting the MCAS scores in the table, and Steve Umbro for helping, you know, put together some of the statistical stuff for the high school. So it was very much a team effort every year. And then what isn't included here, but it also goes to the town, is this is a 1 or 2 page financial summary. We can get that to you in the next packet, but that goes over to the town hall, and it all goes into the, so this is just more of an FYI for you than anything
Excellent
else.
job, I was very impressed, it covers so much.
I know, it's
Very
like, you know, how many
extensive.
pages do you wanna have, have it be, but, and then, you know,
Very good.
I wanna call the committee's attention, again, we recognize some students today, but we also, have put in here for the 2013-14 list of recipients of the John and Abigail Adams scholarships. And this qualifies the people on this list to, free tuition, for 4 years at a college, Massachusetts college or university of their choice. So it's not the fees and all that, but it is the tuition, and every little bit helps. But, you know, it's an impressive list.
It is.
And, you know, I think this is something, you know, when we talk about public relations, we want to post these kind of things, you know, on our website, so that the public can see,
Absolutely.
you know, the students who worked so hard to do so well on and earn this.
And is this based on MCAS?
Well, it
scores?
is. You have, there's a few things. You have to be, advanced and proficient in, you have to be advanced or proficient in English language arts, and then advanced or proficient, I think, in math. Or you have to be, I think maybe you, did I write it in
I
here?
think it's
with the correct-
advanced in English.
I think it's
and
advanced in English and
math.
at least proficient in math. And you have to be also in the 25% or 25th percent of your.
Is it
25%.
biology? Because I don't think I took the math one. Because I didn't go to the middle school. Do we take?
You
the
don't think you took the
Actually,
yeah,
so
you
I
must
must
have
grade.
taken it. You must have taken
all
it.
Is this,
Right, I
is it
guess.
from 10th grade?
So,
Yes, from 10th grade.
10th grade.
Yeah, okay.
And you have to be in the
Sorry.
top 25% of the class.
Mhm.
So the combination of those 3 things puts you, you know, in the
That's wonderful.
eligibility. And there's a special letter that comes from the governor, and, you know, the kids get it, and, you know, it gives them the information on, you know, if you're interested in the tuition, tuition reimbursement, but, you know, it's a great opportunity
Mhm.
if students
And I
take
wonder how
advantage.
many take advantage of it.
I don't know. We do have a number of students who do go to, you know, some of the state colleges and universities. A lot of kids go to UMass. We've had a number of students who have gone to Bridgewater State, and, you know, I mean, sometimes the state schools, people find the state schools more affordable than the private schools. But what's really always interesting to me when I look at that college board is not only necessarily the schools people go to, but the schools that people get into. Because some people make decisions as to where they go to college for other reasons other than whether or not they can do the work, you know, at the college that they choose. Sometimes it is a financial decision, sometimes it's closest to home. There's just a lot of reasons why kids make the decision, but when you see, you know, the same student, you know, getting into, you know, colleges and universities, you know, 5 or 6 different kinds, because usually they'll go for, you know, stretch schools, and, you know, our kids get into some pretty good schools. I'm very impressed every year.
Is that an easy report that
To-
could be made available in terms of the schools that the students are accepted to?
A report to the public, you mean?
Yeah.
Instead of
that's
on that board,
public,
you mean?
Instead of just
Yeah.
on the board?
I mean, sure.
You know,
You know, we have to
There
be
is-
careful also, but, you know, but we just make sure that it's okay with the kids to share the information, because, you know, there's still are.
And maybe it's not about the name of the student being associated
Just-
with it,
yeah.
just that these are the schools that Georgetown kids are getting into.
And that's what I put in the annual report. If you notice that in the report, it says, these are, you know, and we look at it in terms of, there's some kind of noise happening here.
Yeah, there is strange noise.
You know, the colleges and universities, but let me think about that, Rob, I don't know.
I had a conversation just the other day, and maybe it's part of a PR thing too, but
Yeah.
it was with a friend who was thinking about private school.
Yes.
That
Mhm.
thing, and was talking about some of the schools that the kids were getting into, and just
Mm-hmm.
had a misunderstanding.
Yeah.
Even though they were aware of the board, the college board, and so I
Yes.
just thought maybe
Yeah,
be
yeah.
helpful.
It is
Well,
quite impressive. I love going by that board.
Information is
It's
always
impressive.
helpful. You never quite know, you know, what people weight in terms of the information, but.
Sure.
I just happened to be on the website for the Lawrence School District today and noticed that they had a survey for their graduates from last year, asking them, or people who'd been out of the school for a year,
Yeah.
if they would share information about what they were up to, if
Yep.
they were. And I thought that was interesting. I always think whatever happens post-graduation
Yes.
is so interesting, and we often don't consider that as data.
Mhm. We haven't had the ability to collect that data.
Yeah, so-
But one of the things that we did get with this Naviance software that we were able to purchase with a GEF grant in the first year, and then we budget for it every year, is we should be able to collect that information.
That website has helped me so much
Yeah.
with college searching.
Right.
One of the best things that it does, like for gathering information about last year's students, is it like matches your GPA and your SAT score, puts you on a graph, and it shows you, like, say, like I'm applying to Northeastern, so it shows all the kids from Georgetown who applied to Northeastern, where they fit on that graph, and whether they were accepted, waitlisted, or denied. So I can see right where I fit in.
Yep.
It's really helpful.
There's a lot to it. There's a lot to it. So I remember when we purchased it, speaking to Mr. Umbro about that, saying that was really, because it's not necessarily your ability to get in, it's your ability to complete,
That's
your
absolutely,
education.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so,
Right.
you know, having the ability to, we didn't actually have a way to communicate with people, because once you graduate, we don't know what your email is, we don't necessarily know unless you provide all that information. So having a way to track alumni,
I think it's really an interesting question that high schools haven't considered, that we look at how many students get in, but that question of, it's one thing to get in, but it's another thing when you get there.
Yeah.
Do you
Do you succeed? How many remedial classes did you have to take? So many students, and that's part of just what my reality was for so many years, was students,
Weren't ready for it.
they got to college and they were so, but I was top of my class, and that's it.
Could that be something, I'm not sure what subcommittee that would go to, but that if the board was, because I think that gathering that information would be really valuable.
Yeah,
how
that
the
would be
students-
something that I would do for you in relationship, working with the guidance department. I wouldn't think
Yeah.
that's a
Guidance
school
department.
committee, subcommittee.
Okay.
You can ask me what, I can get you what I can get you.
What-
I don't
well-
know that what we'll have.
No, I guess where I was going with, not quite that, what I was meaning is that there's some methodology that's put in place or that's established that for the graduating class this year, coming up, that there's a way that they are communicated with that says, this is what we're trying to do when you leave,
Can we contact
Right.
you in a
There's
year?
form, there's a way to.
Can we send you a survey as an alumni?
And have
Would you
their
be willing to,
names or
participate
something.
and give us an email address or, a way to be in touch with you? Or would you come back to our website in a year?
Yeah.
Nobody will do that without a reminder. I was really wondering how Lawrence was, it's on their website, but
Yeah.
how do they get kids to go back and look at, who goes and looks at their high school
Yeah.
district website? I just
Well,
was.
that's
I thought
part
it
of
was so
what we were
interesting.
talking about in terms of having a Facebook presence, right? Because if you have a Facebook presence, there's a lot of people, we find that they're alumni that check back in, and, we've had people who have, because I know when Stephanie established that, Stephanie Canado, when she was here, she found that there were people who were, coming back and
because
connecting
they work.
through the Facebook. Okay, thank you.
Okay, moving on to the first quarter financial report.
I included in your packet the budget printout through, actually it was through October, beginning of October. But I did include a memo to try to explain so that people didn't panic, that it says the available balance is a little over $300,000 on the very last page, because that was the question I got last year. So for people that are new, we encumber our salaries. So we, project out, teachers are really easy, and paraprofessionals, but there's some hourly employees, we have to make our best guess on what they'll work. And we project out everyone's salaries and encumber them, so that we know that we can't, if we were looking for $2,400 for something, there's not all this money laying out there that you think that's available. So the salaries are encumbered, there's a lot of other encumbrances. All of special ed to date is encumbered. Everything we know and everything that's, being in the process of being purchased is either encumbered or it's been paid. So the $300,000 available isn't actually real. It's, it's a result of us holding those funds, protecting those funds. As far as the salary lines that are still off, when you did the multiple transfers last meeting, that was transferring budget. But we had some people that when we started the year, we hadn't gotten grant money in yet, so we can't set up the encumbrances against the grants that we haven't received yet. And a lot of grants we don't get till September 1st, the big ones, the special ed ones. So if you had looked at the aides or paraprofessional lines at the high school and the middle school, you'll notice they're both in the negative to pretty large numbers. That's because a lot of those people are actually paid out of the special ed grant. So what we need to do now is the payroll coordinator will now unencumber the funds to the budget and re-encumber them to the grant lines and move the monies over. So you'll see after, hopefully by the next meeting, if she's had a chance to go in and change some of those things, that a lot of those negative lines won't be negative anymore. And the $300,000 available budget will grow because about $150,000 of salaries currently charged to the budget will go to the grant. So you should see a big difference. The other piece, and probably the most noteworthy piece, is the special ed budget. Because typically our budget, we don't have a lot of flexibility in our budget. It's mostly salaries, and but the special ed budget is the only number that we watch carefully because it changes so much. I set up a monthly meeting with the special ed director and her secretary and one of the, my assistant who does all the accounting, and we're meeting monthly. We met yesterday. Right now, we're fine. She has 3 students that she's watching, the possibility of being out, tuitioned out. So I know that number right now, and we're just gonna kind of watch. They still have to have their meetings and whatever. But right now, today, if we continue with the current students we have and nothing changed, we'd be fine. Perfect. So.
Yeah, and
It's
that's
only
all we
1
can
month
go-
down.
That's all we can go by,
Right.
is what we know.
And Donna has been terrific in notifying us right away, and especially Carol, right away if it looks like something's a hot issue for her. And her secretary's fabulous. She really seeks out the best transportation price she can get. And another one, she's on top of it constantly. We get memos almost every day of minor changes to POs, up 100, down 100, but it's constant so that we don't feel like, where are we? We don't know where we are. So I feel much more confident this year after having a year under my belt here and understand how we process things to really know where we have money and what to
Right.
look for. So
And that's what I thought when I saw the negative. I'm like, oh, it's not anything that we haven't seen before.
correct.
And I knew those grants came in,
Right.
so.
So, there's 2 philosophies on how to manage the circuit breaker funding. And I've seen it a couple of different ways in different places I've worked. Here, we typically tend to run in the negative through the budget. And then at the end of the year, when all the accounts are settled, transfer to circuit breaker what we can absorb in our own budget.
Mhm.
Other places I've worked, we charge right to circuit breaker. So you're watching your budget and you're watching circuit breaker the whole time. But the school committee never gets to see the circuit breaker numbers necessarily. So it's something that you just manage yourself. Right now, there's only, as I said in my memo, there's only 1 tuition charge to circuit breaker. Even though in my budget that we developed, we said we were gonna charge $300,000 to it. So it's just the method that Julie uses, she's very comfortable with it. She's been doing it a long time. She knows to the penny when we get to the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a preference. Doesn't matter to me as long as we all are watching the same line and understand what's charged. So, I'm very, I'm a user of the Munis system, so it's easy for me to go in and see what's charged where, so.
And the fact that the state funded it at 75%.
Yeah, it was terrific. It was
Is
terrific.
good news. And you don't know that until,
Yeah.
No, we only got it confirmed in
Until now.
September.
okay,
Right.
so that's the
Yeah.
thing, you kind of wait around and
And-
cross your finger.
And they tell you, and this has happened, I know it
Yeah,
happened to
yeah,
you,
yeah.
and they tell you they're gonna fund it at 75%, but December
then
comes
don't.
and the revenue's not in, well, now we're not
That's
gonna
why
fund
we
it.
generally don't necessarily budget at the highest amount.
Right.
Like in other years, we hope for 75, but we might budget 72,
And you might get 35.
and we might get there, well, that
did-
was a real
that did
anomaly.
happen.
That did
Yeah.
happen.
That was like in
The
2008.
year we were scheduled to get the most reimbursement back, it funded at 35%, so it was
Which
really
is
tough.
quite a difference. But that was
Quite
nice,
a
I was glad to see that.
Right, and that
Well, if this
340 is a
country
little,
defaults.
higher than even what we had projected at 75%, because that was from our extraordinary cost last year.
That's right.
Which will drive, the previous year drives with the reimbursement for the following year, so.
Yeah, it's, until I got on the committee, I had no
No
idea
idea.
that
Yeah,
special
you wouldn't,
education was
right.
such a volatile, you can't track it.
Right.
No one knows what's gonna happen at any time, so it's hard to say that you have the
Sometimes
money.
students move in, and sometimes they move out.
Right.
Right.
We did
So-
have, I believe that Donna said we had a move-in, but the student's in a private school, so we don't own that tuition till next year.
But next
that-
year we will,
Next year we'll have
because
to budget for
because
that.
they reside in Georgetown.
But at least we'll have, at
And if-
least we have a little bit, we have time to plan
right.
for that.
And if a student moves in though, and they're in a collaborative,
Mhm.
we own it.
Right.
It's not that deadline
Because it's a
anymore.
private,
Because it's a collaborative.
Collaborative.
Private,
but the private it's
Right.
not our,
right,
Right away.
right. It's not till the following school
And,
year.
sometimes it's tricky because, we have these programs that, we're working very diligently on, but the law doesn't require, the process doesn't require that, coming into a new district, that parents, try our programs first. If it's a stay put, so it's not a required. So we do have some children who are out of district that have never set a foot in our district. And we're confident in many of those cases, we could provide a great opportunity for them. But, there's a trust, there's just a lot of factors to it. I think everybody wants the same thing, but,
Yeah.
in the absence of relationships or trust or, and a lot of times, parents aren't as comfortable as we'd hope they would be with what we have to offer. So we work with everybody, but we try as hard as we can, like Joan said, to stay on top of it.
Joan, just in general, not specifically, but it seems like there's a lot of, so this is a report for the first quarter, and it seems like there's a lot of percentages that have been, I don't have my glasses, so
Encumbered?
it keeps percent used, the last category.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I noticed the ones that are encumbered, why that's there, but there seems to be a lot of them that are just up in the 75% range and 80, and some of them aren't encumbered. And I'm,
Can you give me an example?
Yeah, do you have
I
an
was-
example?
Oh, you can't see very well.
I wish I had
Do you
my
have a pager on?
magnifying, do I have any magnifying glasses? I don't have mine.
well, it is, I don't even know what page this is. What's this right here? Whatever this page, I circled this one.
it's page 3,
Page
Yeah.
3.
and then it's the custodial salary. You have a negative $6,661.50 under
the one you're
available
looking at?
budget. That's
Yeah,
the one I
that's
circled.
So
one
that's
example.
that's a real one that we have to transfer money to cover, because that was an overage of the summer summer help. We had short summer, we added staff,
had to
to
get
try
it
to
done.
get the work done,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
we'll have to find that, we'll probably find it in Mike's budget someplace, or perhaps, in his facility use account, or, he's got different outlier accounts too that we tap when we.
But it isn't surprising that a lot of if they're supply accounts,
Yeah.
Or some of those would be 75 to 80% because they were
Sure.
supplies and materials
For the-
that people
for the-
needed
for the beginning.
at the start of the year. Or Mike this year, because he had a number of projects, and probably he was smart enough to figure out that you don't want the budget to get frozen before you get your stuff. You know, he spent a lot of his stuff up front. He got a lot of things done. So
He got
Good
smart
move.
on
where
me.
we usually have some wiggle room there, he outfoxed us.
I'm sure he was very.
It was went to a great
yes.
cause, but he still outfoxed us.
So in
Schools
general,
look beautiful
with
as a
regards
result.
to that question of
That is a-
percentages,
that
you're-
is a different
you're
one.
But you're comfortable with all of those percentages that you've done?
Right, and
Yeah.
you know, you probably don't realize how the process works, is the principals, teacher, or whoever wants to order something, the principals have to sign off it. Then it comes to me, Julie goes in and enters it before I sign off. If there's not enough money in it, they have to come with
They
a
have-
transfer.
You have to transfer money.
You know, and we don't stop them. I bring all the transfers to you, but if it's a transfer within their building and it's not crossing a salary line, which they're not allowed to do, then we approve it, you approve it afterwards, so we don't stop the purchase.
You
So,
notify.
so we don't just sign off purchase orders. They have to be entered into the account, and it comes up and it says there's not enough money. So when I'm signing the stack of purchase orders, there's notes from Julie all over the place. You know, don't do this, sign this, wait for the transfer. So we don't let anything go through unless there's a plan to pay for it. So it'd be like the textbooks, the
Is
health
your
books.
question that, are we worried that a lot of these accounts are almost spent, and what happens if something happens?
That's
Where are
well-
we going with that?
Mm-hmm.
That's a question. That's a fair question. You know, we budgeted as tightly and as accurately as we could, and so right now, you know, any expenses that we anticipate that would come up would be probably in the area of a special ed expense we didn't anticipate, because we're not hiring new staff,
Mhm.
right? So, you know, it would be, and the supplies are the supplies. I mean, it's not, it would be unusual that somebody would come up with something that was so burning that they absolutely had to have something that they didn't budget for. But if they did, then we could come and talk about it. And again, something like that would be what we might go to choice
Right,
for, because it's a one-time expense if we determined it was an emergency, you know?
And the
but-
textbooks that Peter came for, because the middle
Yes.
school money was all gone.
Yes.
So Peter had to move some of his money around to buy the health books.
But it really would be the special ed expenses, and we have the circuit breaker to assist us with that. So we, in the past, if we didn't have a healthy circuit breaker account, we would have to freeze the budget,
Right.
right? And or cut, you know, regular ed expenses to cover that. And we're saying at this point in time, in the first quarter,
What we know
we're not,
today.
we're not in that situation.
I just think there are a lot of people, and it's taken me these years to get more and more comfortable with this part of the school committee, but I just don't think, I think there are a lot of people out there that think of the total budget that we have, and that, as I've heard in meetings, well, you absorb that. You've got an X million dollar budget, you absorb that, and,
We don't have much
We don't-
discretionary funds in our
we don't.
budget.
and-
We don't.
I know, and so.
And we were very thoughtful in when we planned it, and we gave you all the detailed backup. We knew what we were gonna have to spend, and that's what we budgeted.
Yeah.
There was no contingencies.
Yeah, no, I remember.
We have no, as I said before, we have no utility lines. In a good year, you might save money on a warm year.
The
We don't
town
have
saves that
that.
now.
We don't have health insurance. If you had a good year in health insurance, or you had replaced people that took single plans or whatever, you'd have that. In other districts I work with, I've had that. We don't have those lines.
No,
There
I
is
know.
no discretion in this
There's no,
budget.
there's, as hard as it may be to believe, there's no fluff in this budget.
God, no, no,
There's-
no. It makes it hard to manage, because you might get a request from a principal saying,
Sure.
can't you please find some money? Not really. To find money, we don't do something.
Right.
You have to not do something else. There's no magic money I can find for you. You know, we saved a little money with our replacement teachers, but then you have one maternity leave or sick leave. Worse is a sick leave, that someone has a lot of sick days on the books, then you're hiring a long-term sub on scale for almost a whole
So you're
year,
paying the teacher and you're paying
paying both people.
both people, so.
You know, we did increase some of our sublines this year based on history. We tried
We
to.
did, we did. We
pay
tried to
attention to
budget.
that.
We do have teachers going out, right?
We do,
Yeah,
we do.
we do.
But we, not that we could anticipate who might get pregnant, but we have we make some assumptions that, you know, we have a lot of young staff.
Yes.
You know, so what might we expect? And as Joan said, we did increase those lines in anticipation of some of that. So we didn't wanna, so we look at the history of what happens over 4 years. But, you know, we do have some reasonable assurance, and it's proving to be the case,
Right.
that we need.
And the maternity leaves don't hurt us typically so much because they don't have a lot of sick days on the books.
They get paid for 8 weeks.
They get paid for 8 weeks. Some people don't even have 8 weeks, you know, new young teachers or whatever. But if someone goes out on a year-long serious illness,
Yeah.
you're paying 2 full salaries.
Yeah.
You don't have any options.
So we want our people to be healthy.
Right, but it
We've
also
been lucky.
should make the committees think about perhaps having a contingency line.
That's right.
For special ed, so that,
Right.
you know, that you do have some leeway.
Doesn't that come back to bite you though?
Well, when we took the money from the town, when they were gracious to give us the 250, I think the way we tracked it was important, that we didn't just
Yes.
put it back into a contingency line. That, when you say that comes back to bite you, people are not always sure, like, what's gonna be paid for out of that contingency.
Right.
But in that case, we basically said, this is the line, and this is what's coming out of it.
was
And anybody
This is
that
for
asks-
these
It was for just
5
that.
kids, we
And any-
could
right.
report on
And if
that.
anybody asked for a printout from the town, you know, if any of the finance committee asked for a printout from the town, they would be able to show the bills that were paid were all tuitions, and they were all the same tuitions.
Yep.
We didn't charge anything else to it, so.
Yeah, so I
And that's
hear you,
important.
Rob, it goes to
That
the
is very
transparency question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's just that, you know, if, for example, this year, circuit breaker didn't get funded, if the state wasn't in the situation it was, you don't have a contingency, you'd either be laying off people, because we don't have any, there's really not much else in our budget.
Right, the mid-year would be a real problem.
Right, or you'd be going back to the town again, so it's.
Yeah, and we don't wanna go back to the town every year, but we wanna be honest and upfront about what is in our budget and what isn't in our budget.
So anyways, as of today, we're okay.
Thank you, Joan.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so, the next thing is Mike. Mike couldn't be here, he had to go to a wake. So, I sat with him this morning, and if we had known he was not gonna be here, we would have produced this and had it in your packets, but we didn't know. So, he came into my office with 190, pages of 195 work orders that his staff completed during the month of September. So I made up a list and just tried to highlight some of the things that just in September we've done. So he completed 195 work orders, and in addition, took great care of the grounds, specifically the playing fields. It was a busy season for them. The work orders include this list that I gave you, as well as typical day-to-day things that don't go through the work order system, like they move all the furniture around, they issue all the ID badges, and just if Mike walks by and he gets grabbed, or one of the maintenance guys get grabbed, but they do a lot of work. I was amazed when I sat and went through the list with him.
This is 1 month.
1 month. So
And I'm
it's
sure there's things here that aren't listed, that are incidental kind of things that they
Right.
just,
right.
they
I'll
just
tell you,
do
the
that are
best
not
thing
the
we
work
did was to
orders.
get that school dude.
yeah.
It really shows you, if you had to defend those maintenance positions to the town or anything, that, I mean, at the end of last year, I had a stack like that of everything they completed. And Mike actually ties their labor cost and the hours to see what it cost us, but what it's really saved us by not hiring a plumber, electrician, for small jobs that we can repair on our own. It makes a tremendous difference. You know, if we didn't have those maintenance people, there's no way Mike could do all this.
Sure.
Where's the cutoff point where you have to go beyond Mike and someone else has to do the work?
Oh, like hiring
Like the roof obviously
yeah.
is, but where's the cutoff point?
HVAC, Mike's recommendation, he would love to come to the school committee. He tried to, I wouldn't let him this year, he tried to come, and when we when we were working on the budget, to propose a part-time HVAC person that worked on staff. Because when you look back over the course of a year, all our problems are HVAC. And you can get a guy, I had given him some examples of places I worked. We had a part-time electrician. Custodians are not supposed to change ballast.
Right.
Yeah, right.
So you're supposed to hire an electrician to change ballast. So in one of my jobs, we hired a part-time electrician. He worked full-time, like, I don't know, like GE, I don't know where he worked. And he would come in at 3:30. When you want an electrician to come in, when there's no students, nobody's going to be affected. And he worked part-time. We paid him $25 an hour, and he worked 19 hours a week. And boy, when we compared what we spent on electrical work from one year to what we spent on paying him, it was nothing.
Well,
I
that's
mean,
the.
it was a quarter of what we had spent
Right.
on electricians that come disrupt the classroom because they don't want to come at 4 o'clock. And then, so we had toyed around in my previous positions with the HVAC piece, and I never saw it, to fruition. But Mike said if we had an area that was an issue for us, it is HVAC.
And part of that problem is because of the age of some of our.
Yeah.
When we have.
We have a lot of
when we
it at
have-
high school.
Yeah, yeah. When we have the new Pembroke come online, that's gonna relieve
So
a
I was
little
gonna
bit
say,
of
would
that.
that still require someone just for the
Well,
middle
the
high
other
school?
thought was
Because that does seem where our problem
talking
is.
about, merging the
That this is
services
the
with the
town.
town.
Yeah.
Wow, we could get a lot out of somebody that was 19 hours a week.
Yeah, that's what
For
we,
all the
we talked
buildings.
about with if there was a shared maintenance
Mm-hmm.
department, that literally you'd have like Terry used to call it a tiger team, but it was like Joan said, not full time people, so they're not benefited, right? But you have a plumber, you have an electrician, and so instead of the police department and the light department and the school department all calling a different plumber, and all having different rates, if we could decide this is the plumber, this is how much it's going to cost. It's more predictability. It would be.
And I can't believe that there aren't like plumbers or electricians that market themselves to towns in that way.
Well, you could,
As-
we could
we
go
use,
out to
like-
bid, we could go out to bid
Yeah.
and get
Challenge.
a service rate, and have a contract with the service rate. But I suppose you could say, we want you to come after 3 o'clock, but people, if it's an employee, they come every day.
Right.
And all we used to do is leave it in his box. He came to the mailbox every day. We left a list of everything. At the end of the day, he listed what he did, if he needed supplies. You never really saw him, but everything got done. And it was pretty
Brilliant.
cheap.
Yeah,
It was pretty
that's
cheap.
Brilliant. That's,
One of the biggest challenges that this town has is all the separate departments, and trying to get one electrician to work for all the different departments, I think is a great idea, but it is gonna be hard to pull off.
Well, at those meetings that we had, we looked at all the different plumbers that each school, just the schools called, and we had a long list of plumbers that all helped, and then electricians, and
Yeah.
it would be so much better, more effective.
Right, so, something to think about, but the maintenance staff and the custodial staff, they do a great job.
Yeah, they've been
Yes,
busy.
They really, I'm amazed
Schools
what
look great.
they
The
do.
schools look great.
I commented, we invested in those machines,
Yes.
Zambonis,
I call
whatever
them
you
little
call them.
The
Zambonis.
floor,
But I went to exercise class, we had an exercise class at Pembroke School, and we do it in the cafeteria, and typically it's like, oh, I'm not laying on that floor. Laura was with me last year, and I sat down on my mat yesterday, and I said to Julie, look at the floor, it's shining. There's no crumbs, because it was almost impossible for one guy to clean that big
Yeah.
floor with everything else he had to do. Now they just get on the machine, they do a quick
We love
mop.
those machines.
Oh, see?
Seeing the janitor go by our classroom, we all wave.
But your halls are shiny, aren't they?
We really have clean floors.
Right, so that was an investment, that was costly, it was $10,000 per machine, but it's really paid off. Paid off, we got one for Pearlie this summer, and I see Eric doing the gym
Yes, he
and
does.
the cafeteria, and it's great. So,
Well, you can't ask people to do a high level, job and not give them equipment with which to do it. So, I think in the past, that was a problem, and starting with the money from the override, we were able to buy a couple of the machines that the custodial staff really felt were important, and since then we've tried to add to the fleet of equipment, and obviously it's paying off. It's great.
Where does, if there's something with a facility that's, like, in the parking lot, there's a pothole that needs to be, whose budget does that come out of?
Mike's.
That's,
I think it's Mike's. Oh, no, does the town do it?
The town, I think, does the potholes.
Oh, the town might do
The
it.
I mean,
maintenance
Peter's
of
a
the-
highway guy.
Is
So
that-
that's a good question, Rob. I'm guessing, I don't think I've ever seen our guys filling potholes. I've seen us painting parking lots, but usually
It's usually
Peter's
exactly
Peter.
Where the pothole is.
Yeah, it might depend on where the pothole is.
I mean, there's
I could
parking
ask
lots
Peter
and
about that.
there's
I'm not sure.
roads and
We could ask Marcia about
driveways
that
and.
too.
Right, and so
Yeah.
that comes back in on our end of the year report. I'll get a report from the town that says this much has been spent on the school, so then it, that wouldn't go to net school spending, but a lot of other services that the town, they don't back bill us, they account for it that way, so it does go on to our net
We
school
do raise
spending.
some revenue through some parking tickets, like at the high school. I mean, not parking tickets, but parking
Parking passes,
spaces,
yeah.
parking passes, parking spaces.
Yeah, we
You
paint
know,
the-
so
we paint
we
the
use
lines
that
with
to
that.
make improvements
Yeah.
to some of the parking lots and things like that, so.
Yeah, so I could be wrong about the potholes, that.
part of that
We
question.
might pay them.
I think part of that question comes from just the future when Pembroke gets up.
Yes.
Oh, I
That
can find
it's
out.
related.
The maintenance, who's gonna
I
be
mean, it comes through
responsible?
Mike, and I think Mike probably calls Peter, I don't know.
Yeah, they have a
exactly.
good relationship in that way.
Yeah, they're a great relationship.
Okay.
So,
Thank you, Joan.
I know,
Thank you,
thank
Joan.
you.
you're welcome.
Okay, subcommittee reports. Budget and finance?
I would say we just covered it quite nicely.
Yeah.
And all I would add would be that, when I squint my eyes, October 16th is our next meeting at 4 PM.
Okay. Governance?
So we met before our meeting tonight. We reviewed the concussion policy, and it will be in the packets for our next meeting. We're not suggesting a change, but we are required to have the committee review the policy, to say we're in compliance with something. We modified our bullying policy, and the revised policy will be presented at the next meeting for a vote. Carol will also speak to people who need to make sure that the revised policy is distributed to all faculty and staff. We talked about the Baker Adams meeting that Barbie and Carol and I had. We're working on changes to the scholarship application and should have something free. We have a meeting again on October 22nd.
Yeah, October
I
20
think it is. October 22nd we'll be meeting, and hopefully, once we hammer this out, where there's a lot of things we're talking about, and we'll get something to
We
you.
did have,
It
we
was
did
nice
have
too, we
Don
had,
Cudmore.
yeah, it was just
Yeah.
And talk a little bit about the history of,
Tell us some interesting
Yeah, that-
things
it
about
was-
Baker
it-
Adams.
yeah, but it was very interesting to have Donnie. I think it was helpful.
Yeah, I think so
Because
too.
he was the one that, the one
Did
that
the
we see now,
research.
he was, well, he did the research, but the application currently is what
Yes.
the one that we have looked at, that's the one that he had,
He drafted that.
drafted it, and he thought it was a great idea that we were,
Reviewing
looking
it,
at
yes,
it to
he
review it
felt
and
that
make some
was very
changes.
important to review it on
Good,
a regular
but it was great that
basis.
he came to shed some light
Yeah.
on this individual that we now look more as a person rather than this person that has this money.
Yes,
You know, it
absolutely,
was nice to have him.
absolutely.
That's very nice.
So we've begun this process of reviewing policies in the policy manual, and while we've set up an agenda for when policies will be reviewed, we also discussed the fact that certain policies will be coming up for review out of the order that we established just as the need arises. For instance, policies concerning the new Pembroke School. So we expect that those
And Joan,
policies.
we need to get them a list
Yeah.
of the
I have a
policies.
couple of policies I'd like to
Well,
make some changes to.
we will accommodate those as they come to our attention. We looked at policy IA regarding instructional goals. Carol is going to take a stab at redrafting this policy to make it more meaningful, since we really couldn't understand what its purpose was. So we'll be getting back to you on that. The policy IB on academic freedom, we decided is okay as is. We also felt policies IC/ICA and ID, one regarding the school year and the school calendar, and the other regarding the school day, were both okay. Policy IE concerns the organization of instruction, and that currently states we have a school that goes pre-K through 5 and then second through 5th. So we know that that will need to be revisited in the spring of 2014 so that it reflects what we actually do in our new configuration, our new organization. That's all we had time for. So next time we will review policies
Sounds like
IGA
a busy
and
meeting.
IGB and the next 5 policies on the list
And then
after that.
anything that comes up, wow, you know, because I think there are
a
some
lot of work.
required policies that come with that whole MSBA project. So I need to research that, and maybe you and I can talk about which ones you want to bring forward. Okay. So,
Yes.
great.
So governance committee is working.
We are working.
Thank you. Negotiations, we have not met.
Nope.
Public relations,
Public relations, we met on September 30th, and we discussed Carol's blog that she.
Barry's almost
together with
he's meeting-
Barry.
I think tomorrow I'm meeting with him.
Oh,
Right,
good.
Laura? Am I meeting with Barry tomorrow? I
Great.
think he's on my calendar.
Great, and Carol was asking us if we had any ideas for topics, subjects that she would be, she could write about, and we came up with a few, but we would love to hear from any of you here if you have any additions or any other ideas. We came up with school security, MCAS, Common Core, special education, school climate, anti-bullying, the food service program, RTI, response to intervention. So if anyone
Laura's
has
gonna
any
need you to
other-
pass that list to her.
Yes, we quite a few ideas out there, and of course,
Sounds
and then we all.
many more.
I'm sure, yes. That can be a long-term plan. It's
Yes.
not- we're not suggesting that you
It
need
is
to
a
cover
long-term
all
plan.
of
We're
those.
fine with that.
Right, in the near future or anything. We also talked about Facebook and social media and possibly and getting a student intern to be able to assist with that. And we just discussed the general idea that the Facebook could correspond with the blog in some sense, so that you're not, thinking about totally different material for Facebook and the blog, and so we do intend to have, at our next meeting, go
Barry says
further
I'm
with
going to learn
Facebook
to
or
tweet.
social media
I
planning.
was just gonna say, you're not gonna have a
Tweeting.
Twitter, are you?
He said
Super
you're
easy.
going
Well-
you're going to learn to tweet. I said, oh, okay, we'll see.
If the
how
first
it goes."
week you can, I think you can.
We talked about starting with Facebook and then going from there. There's no,
Oh, Barry's well beyond
Twitter.
Facebook. I'm tweeting, I'm
Pinterest and
interesting. And
all kinds of
stuff.
all kinds of possibilities out there for sure. Very exciting because a lot of people use that and a lot of people
I
like to
know.
get their
Once you get
information that
Facebook
way.
down,
and-
once you learn how to do Facebook,
Well, I
the
might have to have a
rest is
tutorial
based
from
off
you,
of
Mary
Facebook.
Beth.
Yeah, it's
You might
easy.
have to tutor me.
I will.
Because I think it'd be really exciting. I think a lot of people in the community do use Facebook. That being said, though, there are not a lot of other public schools around that are what I would call leaders in the area. I think maybe we could try to be that ourselves. So there are a few other model schools that we can look at that, with some good ideas, but I think it would be very useful, very well received. Let's see, and I think that's all.
And having Ryan help, that's a great idea.
Yes.
That's nice. I'm sure he'll give you a good perspective about what the kids are looking for and.
Ryan's the king tweeter at our school.
There you go. Well, you may be
Give out his
tweeting.
tweets
I
during
know. Our
the school
progress
day.
may be
So
quick.
if anyone in our school is good for that, it's Ryan.
That's great.
Progress may be quicker than we were thinking. That would be good. That'd be great.
And safety.
We grew up in a different
Safety.
time.
We just had a meeting this morning and today, yes. And we discussed a lot of what we were. See, what else did we? October is Fire Prevention Month, and so Chief Beardsley was talking about a program called Student Awareness for Fire Education that he's hoping to move forward with this.
Yeah, safe
this year.
is what he's called.
Safe. Mm-hmm.
He wants to expand it to Pembroke. So it's really with the little guys right now. One of our staff members who's out actually on a medical leave right now. But she's due to return, and the chief in January would like to have this SAFE program expand to Pembroke. So obviously we're working on that.
We had all of our play structures inspected, and they all passed nicely and were certified.
Yeah, anything that
Um,
didn't meet the code
that happens
was
on
removed,
annual
but it was very,
basis.
we were
Yeah.
we were very happy with the
Who
response.
did the certification?
Mike hired somebody to do it.
Yeah, we hired an external.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And that's
Just
including the
curious who it was.
preschool?
All
We
the
did,
playgrounds.
we did everything, and then we made whatever recommendations, that I think I might have put it on your list, but whatever recommendation, whether it was add mulch, I know that Pembroke, we took some 6-foot timber out, because
Oh,
the
yeah.
height, and then, we removed part of the structure at, Pearlie.
Really.
That the company or the consultant said didn't meet the code. So that will be, I'm not sure it was done annually, but it's now part of Mike's preventative maintenance plan. It will just be
great.
done annually.
Good, good.
And all the police department has been very pleased with the way the code blue drills have been proceeding very smoothly.
Yes, the principals actually complicated things a little bit. For example, at the high school, not only did they have a code blue during lunchtime, but they also pulled the fire alarm. So that was the first time the kids had to
Aside
be in a
from that.
position of, okay, what do I do? Fire alarm means I get out of here. Code blue means I stay in place.
Oh, my
What do I do?
goodness.
It was scary.
So, yeah.
Wait, everyone thought it was real because it went on for so long, and it was during lunch, and I was running student council freshman elections that day, so a lot of things.
No one
were-
consulted with you, did they?
No,
Ann?
I
Was
mean,
this a good
so
time?
it seemed different that time. We were
Yeah.
all kind of worried, so we
Yeah.
all tried to do the best we could, and
Yeah.
we got good results. So.
Yes, you did. But the question came up like, okay, so if you're outside, if you're someone who's outside, out at gym, out at recess, what do you do? Do you run to the tree line and go to safety? Or do you try to squeeze into the cafeteria? So, we had a conversation about that today because, basically your inclination is you run. You don't go back, if the threat's inside, you don't go back inside. And then there were some kids in the cafeteria, I read about this in the school newspaper, so if you didn't get this copy of the school newspaper yet, you wanna read this. They had an article in there, and they're talking from the kids' perspective about they're supposed to, in the cafeteria, supposed to get under the tables and stay. And there were kids that were not comfortable doing that, so they really wanted to get out of the cafeteria. They wanted to go to the back hallway where the locker rooms are to get out of it's just very interesting because your inclination in something like that is to flee, to get away, to save yourself, But what's tricky about it is if you don't know where the threat is,
You don't know what to
then
do.
you don't know what you're fleeing from. So, that's why we do these drills, because we can't plan for every situation, but every time we do it, and actually at Pembroke, they did it during lunch too, which is the first time they have ever done it during lunch. So, and Donna did say that the kids were a little anxious about it, because it wasn't the typical code blue,
Right.
just as you were saying, it felt different to them. But,
And we discussed in the meeting about the twin principles of awareness of your environment.
Right.
Staying aware of where the threat is
Right.
and seeking shelter. So if
Right.
you're outside and the threat appears to be inside the school, then seeking shelter would be
yeah.
to move away from the school. But if the threat was outside the school, then seeking shelter would be to move into the school.
Yeah, so access to information is very important.
I think that's it.
Thank you. Sure. School building committee?
We now are on that monthly schedule, so we haven't met since the last time. And the next meeting is coming up next Tuesday, October 15th at 7 p.m.
We did have a pre-qualification, a pre-meeting with the builders, though.
Oh, you did?
We did, in this room. It was packed, because it wasn't just the, they selected Brait
Brait.
Builders. And so it's the two brothers, and the gentleman who we talked about tonight with Corey's, Tony, is like their on-site coordinator. In fact, I talked to Tony today. He called me about the Corey process, which Joan is going to handle. But I also, asked him if he would, see what he could do to help me with the cross-country team is having their last meet coming up, I want to say October 21st, but I have to double-check that. And, of course, the building company is very close to taking over the site, and they'll start putting up their fences. So I'm not sure where their fence is gonna go in relationship to where the cross-country is, but I'm trying to ask them to indulge us and allow us to have that last meet to work with the timeline so they can have the, because we have a lot of seniors on the team. It's the course they've run forever. It's the last time that course is going to be used. It would just seem a shame to not be able to go to have the last meet there. And he seemed to understand that, and he told me that he would speak to one of the brothers and let me know when I could arrange. I'll probably have the coach, meet with him just to go over where the actual races go. Because once it's in the woods, I have no idea where it goes. I know they run out of the parking lot into the woods, but I don't have any idea where they're going to set up their fences yet and all that kind of stuff. That's not something I'm involved with. So, but I think that they're going to be able to accommodate the cross-country team for us. But they're starting, they're anxious to get, to get going on that. And we're talking about, we met Michelle Smith, me, Carrie Strauss, and, who else was with me in that room? Margaret. And Donna Tanner. Thank you. Because we're working on a groundbreaking ceremony. So, Michelle was going to get a hold of the OPM and see if they couldn't get a hold of MSBA and find out sometime within the week. Well, actually, you know what we're trying to figure out is if we could do it on the PD day in November, because the thinking there would be you're not going to be dealing with all the traffic and everything. So our plan so far would be to invite the MSBA. They just need to tell us who. Senators and representatives, obviously school committee, town officials, and department heads if they're interested in coming. And because we were thinking about something like 3:30 in the afternoon, trying to do it outside, but we don't quite know where they're gonna put the dirt. I don't know where the trailers go. There's stuff we don't know yet, but we'd like to do it outside if we could, and see if we could get some donations of like hot cocoa and cider and maybe some donuts and cookies or something. And then have a few speakers, who would want to say a few words. And we would send something out through Connect Ed and through the, if we do it on that day, that's our first choice. It may not work. We may have to go to Plan B. But we would send something out to the families. And if they wanted to come and bring their children, they could do that. It would be open, to them. We decided probably not in this round to involve the children in the actual ceremony. But when we do the big, grand opening, we'll definitely do more of that. But we thought if we could invite the families, then kids could come with their family if they wanted to come to the ceremony. That way, it would just be open to everybody. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what we're thinking right now. We're kind of waiting to see whether or not that date is going to stick. If not, we have an alternative date, obviously, and we'll go forward. But it's pretty exciting.
Sounds
Pretty
great.
exciting opportunity.
Good. Okay. Old business, new business, the homeschool.
Yeah, we have one additional homeschool family. Parent and I have been working together, and then Donna Straight has been helping with the very specifics. This is due to a medical issue, and it's in the best interest of the child. And I think the plan is a good one. So we're obviously once the situation gets rectified, the hope is that this is a short-term situation, but it is necessary at this point in time, so I urge you to support it.
The chair will entertain a motion to approve the updated 2013-2014 homeschool family list as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, and I think that does it for our agenda. It does. Which is nice, okay? So the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn at 8:37.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.